Hey Deb, how are you? Always good to see you here. How's it going? How was your Tuesday? Hey, I'm glad you're here. Um, I had a pretty good Tuesday, productive, just working. Spent the day with my wife as well. That was pretty cool. Tuesday was fickle. What happened? What happened on this Tuesday? I just had a conversation with Andrew McCready, the guy I did, the last person I interviewed, and we're doing another one on Friday. So he wanted to talk about some more stuff, and I wanted to hear what he had to say about it. So he gave me a time. Friday is gonna be. We're gonna do another interview to speak more in detail about secret intelligence agencies' involvement in our gang stalking or in gang stalking in general. Um, I do realize that all of it is not being orchestrated by secret intelligence agencies. Some of it is being orchestrated by, law enforcement, by straight up criminals, just criminals who have access to these kind of softwares that are used to spy on people and these torture methods. But yeah, we're gonna talk more about it. How was your Tuesday? What happened? What happened on your Tuesday, Deb? Just couldn't get together with indecision. Indecision about what? I mean, I'm not gonna lie, my Tuesday was all right. It was productive, but in here, I'm a bit I feel a bit drained. But how can I complain, I just I don't think there's any space to complain when I look at other people's situations, what other people are going through, people that are going through much worse than I am. And but it's not it's not perfect. Started going somewhere and didn't go. Huh. Now you say you didn't go. You started going somewhere and you didn't go. Is it going, were you going somewhere that would have been productive for you, or were you going to see some people that are in on your gang stalking, so you decided, eh, let's not go? What happened exactly? What made you change decision? Or is it just that you felt like maybe someone would be there that would do directed conversation? Ah, so you felt like there were people over there that are in on your gang stalking. Okay, I got you. I got you. Well, I can understand that. Going somewhere productive. And why didn't you go? Why didn't you go? So there weren't gang stalkers there. You were going somewhere where you were going to do something productive, but you didn't go. Why didn't you go? What happened? What made you decide to? Ah, okay. Well, personally, I hate traffic. I don't go anywhere if it involves traffic. So I can't fault you for that. Um, but if it was productive, I feel like we have a duty to make our lives as productive as it can be. Not to the detriment of our mental health, of course. There you go. You have your solution. Should have started out earlier. You have your solution. So next time you know what to do. Hey, don't beat yourself up. Next time you will have a productive day. So, what I wanted to talk about today is something that I mentioned in the last live I did, which is the whole idea of gang stalking being slow torture, or silent torture, slow unaliving, if you will. Hey, Annette, how's it going? How's it going? Glad you're here. So, I wanted to talk about the aspect of gang stalking, the silent torture, slow unaliving aspect, where basically they try to create in you this straw that broke the camel's back moment. They try to create these moments in your life to get you to react to anything, their abuse, to your life, to anything negatively. And of course, the end goal is destroying your life, but they start out with destroying your reputation. So by irritating you constantly, doing things to irritate you, and of course, it's all tailored to irritate you. They've studied you, they've studied your behavior, they've studied your reaction, your reactive behaviors, and they know what will get a reaction out of you. So they will poke and provoke you with it over and over again in manners that hold plausible deniability, right? You write a comment on someone's video, or um, you know, on a YouTube video, on an Instagram reel, and then people start responding to you, and they'll say things that are particularly tailored just for you to piss you off, right? This is a very common method that they use, actually. I don't know if you guys saw the interview. Well, not the interview, but this um, hidden camera sort of date. This guy was meeting an ex FBI or ex CIA. Doesn't matter. They're the same thing. Um, Essentially, was meeting an ex CIA agent. I don't even think he was an ex agent. I think he was an agent of either the FBI or the CIA, one of the two. And he was explaining how they can easily create situations that will land someone in jail, in prison, get him in trouble. And he was really proud of himself. I think they were on a date, honestly. I mean, for sure that agent was homosexual, no doubt about it. Um, and he was talking to another man. I believe they were on a date, and the guy was had a secret, like a hidden camera on him, and he was basically explaining, we know what will piss you off. If we're at the point where we're trying to get you in prison, we've studied you. We know how to get to you. And he was saying, we'll just put a post out there and make sure that you see it, make sure it pops up in your algorithm first thing in the morning, um, to make sure to mess up your day and sort of create this snowball effect. And I wanted to talk about that because it's really important to remember there are certain things that you cannot allow yourself to do. I constantly speak of, the substance abuse, drugs and alcohol. You gotta let it go, or you gotta slow it down, as much as possible. But one thing that you cannot participate in is arguing with people online. You know, when my gang stalking first started, a lot of it was just people online saying awful things to me, and all I was doing was sharing pictures of my dogs or commenting under other people's dog pictures. I'm a big dog guy, right? Haven't always been. I grew up. I always wanted a dog when I was a young kid, but I never had one. And then when I had one for the first time, I was really excited. I got online and I started talking to other people who had the same breed as me, same breed of dog as me, which was a pit bull at the time, an American bully at the time. And this is where I met the gang stalkers on a pit bull forum. And every time I would comment or post a picture, they would just say awful things. I would get bullied as if I was in high school, and I was just out of high school at the time. So it wasn't. It was very strange because I had seen people get bullied, but I never got bullied in high school. Everybody either liked me or didn't care about me, and I didn't mess with anyone. And also, I didn't let anyone mess with me in high school. I mean, maybe like not when I was in like seventh grade, but seventh grade is high school here. When I was in seventh grade, I did get bullied because I was a very short kid. But, I grew up quickly and, people realized, oh, maybe we should leave him alone. And I didn't give anyone any reason to mess with me, you know? I was very kind to people and helpful and, the same person you're seeing here, right? That's who I am. Unprompted. No one told me, hey, you should do this. Here I am, sharing information, trying to help folks. That's who I am. So, for sure, I didn't get bullied, in high school, but I started getting bullied online, and I didn't know how to react to that. You know, it was so strange, and it was nonstop, and all I wanted was to share in this new passion that I had found with people. You know, and of course, I was completely unaware that there are evil people in this world. I just thought, oh, people that do bad things, they just need to be shown that they are loved. And I was that naive. I was that kid, believe it or not. But people who are evil, you can love the evil out of them. And you know, once yeah, keyboard bullies, if you will, if you will, yeah, for sure, 100%. And I would get bullied all the time, and it really caused me to have some serious anger issues. This constant rejection and this constant belittling, and I didn't have the defense that I have now, to where if someone says anything about me, I went to my veterinarian a couple months ago, couple yeah, a couple months ago, and I met let's just put it this way, someone who does the same, who's in the same line of work as I am, right? And I guess they see me as competitors, and you know, I mean, these people have, don't get me wrong, like these people are not people I care about in the slightest, but they were in the news for breaking the law, for impersonating. They were impersonating doctors, writing prescriptions to people, things of that nature, which is completely unrelated to what I do, by the way. This is another business that they had, but they were pretending to be doctors and prescribing, making prescriptions to people. Um, they got caught. They ended up on the news. They ended up in the newspaper, on TV. They went to court. They had to pay fines, which is insane. I'm like, you can impersonate a doctor for years, and all you'll get is fines. And like that was just strange to me. But I guess they have good lawyers. Who cares? All I know is if I impersonated a doctor and I got caught, I'd be in jail. But these people have been very, very badly talked about by their clients, as it pertains to not that business where they were pretending to be doctors, but pertaining to that other business where it's the same line of business that I am in. They've been talked very badly about, and some of their clients came to me and talked terribly about them, said, these people are scammers. I mean, these are their words. I've never had any dealings, that involved any money with these people. Not that I remember, at least. Um, and no, I never had. I mean, I've met them maybe once or twice. This person was like super, um, super, like interested in being my friend. I was like, "Oh, I admire your business and all of that. We do the same thing." And I was like, "Hey, sure, let's talk, let's kick it, you know?" And then I hear all these awful things about them, and we were part of the same Facebook group, and everybody was asking me to ban them from the group, and I'm like, I can't just ban them. Like they didn't do anything to me, you know? And then they just kept breaking the rules of the group, so I decided, screw it. But I saw these people. The point I'm trying to make, sorry, I'm rambling, but I saw these people at my veterinarian office, and when they recognized me, it's a couple, right? So the lady, a man and a woman, the lady comes to me and starts talking to me and like provoking me, saying things like, you're a loser, and everybody knows you're a joke, blah blah. And I'm not even talking to that person, I'm just looking at her, like just looking at her in her eyes as she's speaking, you know. And people around are looking and are like, what the hell is going on? What's wrong with this lady? And my wife is sitting there, not reacting. Kudos to her. She did a really good job not reacting. But I'm just looking at her, and when she said, you're a joke. Um, sorry, there's a gang stalker in here. Yeah. So once she said, you're a joke. I couldn't help but laugh. I just laughed because all I could think was like, I'm not in the newspapers for like screwing, like I'm not in the newspapers for pretending I'm a doctor. You are, not me. That's you. Like I wasn't like on a hidden camera show in on a news channel for pretending to be a doctor. I didn't have like hidden cameras come to into my office where I pretend I'm a doctor so that they can reveal, you know, to everyone that I'm pretending to be a doctor. I didn't get charged with that. I don't have a criminal record. First of all, I don't have a criminal record at all, which is, of course, if you're being gang stalked, it's liable to change at any time because, you're gonna get bogus accusations. But I didn't do that. I don't have a criminal record, or I don't have any charges on my record that say I'm pretending to be a doctor and prescribing things to people as a doctor. I don't have that. You do. And you're telling me I'm a joke. So when she said it, like you're a joke, everybody knows you're a joke. I just started laughing because I was like, this is like a homeless person telling me that I'm a loser. It's like a degenerate gambler telling me that like I'm broke, or I'm bad with money. You know? I couldn't help but laugh, and then as soon as I laughed, she stopped talking. But the point I'm saying is that when it first started, this bullying that I dealt with, I didn't have any defenses for it. I've never been bullied in my life. And the first time I got bullied, it was very short. I got bullied once on like my first day of school in seventh grade, and then I made a friend, and this guy had a BB gun, and that was the end of that. You know? Um, I don't know where that kid is, by the way. I hear he's in a wheelchair. Um, Apparently he was not a good kid. Anyways, tangent. Sorry, I'm not gonna go too deep into that. But yeah, so the point I'm making is that it's really important to be careful about what kind of behaviors you engage in and what you give your energy to, because this program is not something that's going to take you out quickly. It's slices at you, right? It nips at your heels, and you have to be careful about how you interact with the world and how you present yourself in the world and how you allow things to make you react. You cannot react emotionally to things. And one thing I can definitely tell you is if you are in the habit of arguing with strangers online, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, it doesn't matter, right? If you are in the habit of doing these things, quit it. Stop it. You know, never in the history of ever has there ever been an argument on the internet where you said something, they said something, you said something back, and then they go, "Oh, you're right. Sorry about that." Right? That doesn't happen, you know? These are miserable people looking to, to they're not looking for a common ground here. Their goal is to frustrate you. That's all it is. So you really have to not engage in that. And also, sometimes you think you're talking to a person. You might be talking to an AI bot. You might be talking to an agent directly, who's literally trying to get on your nerves, trying to get you to react, trying to add straws on your camel's back until one day, and this is the reason why it's so important is because you will not realize that it's happening. You will not realize that you're about to blow. You will not real it's such a little by little thing that eventually it changes you. It changes who you are. These constant attacks. It really does change who you are as a person. For you to be so reactive to things. And then next thing you know, you're doing, things that are really out of character, things that you completely, regret, and things that, they have on video, on record, through hidden cameras, through, your phones, your webcams, laptops, tablets, smart TVs, you know. Um, you get bullied online and then all of a sudden you're having crazy ass fights with your spouse or your children or your parents or your siblings, and all of that is being recorded and it's being used against you and you don't know. No one is going to tell you. Never is anyone going to, any of the people that they're going to contact and give them information that they shouldn't have on you, that they would could only have on you through spying on you. They're only going to share that information with people that they know will not get it back to you. So you'll never know that these things are known around town. And now people hate you and you can't understand why. But the reason why is because you became reactive to things and you're giving into anger. And it's all because you constantly allowed people to add, like strangers, to add straws on your camel's back. And eventually it's the straw that breaks the camel's back. And that's really what they want. They want to slowly, methodically, meticulously strip away at your patience and your goodness, um, you know, make you bitter, make you angry, make you like them, make you the way that they are, so that they can point the finger at you and say, "You see, you're the problem. You deserve this because you're the problem. You've caused this." So it's not just important to remember that they have caused you to, you know, be in the situation that you're in or to react the way that you react. Yes, it's important to remember that. Of course it is, because that's the truth. These people have invaded your life and, have made sure to create frustration and anger and all of these things in your life so that you would change your behavior and be more reactive, right? But it's also important to remember how they do it and to not allow it to happen. It's these little things, you know, and a very common method that they like to use is online arguments with strangers. You think you're talking to just some guy, but that guy has all the information he needs about you to irritate you as much as possible, you know? And you think you're having like an actual argument with someone and, you know, you're trying to get to the truth, or you got to let go of your ego, right? You don't need anyone to agree that you are right. You're allowed your opinion. I'm a dog trainer. Like, I'll put it this way: I'm a dog trainer, and there are like two schools of dog training. There are like two schools of thoughts, like positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement. So, dog treats, positive reinforcement. Uh, you know, choker, correction, negative reinforcement. Now, when it comes to my training, I mostly focus on positive reinforcement. However, I'm not one of these positive reinforcement, people that will never use the word no with a dog, or never correct a behavior with a dog, right? But my training is not mainly focused on correcting and then sometimes rewarding. It's focused on guiding behavior, rewarding the good behaviors, and then when needed, correcting bad behaviors. But there are some people who are who think that if you don't do entirely positive reinforcement, you're a horrible monster, you know and there are some people who think that if you train your dog by giving it treats, then you're not really training it. It's not listening to you, it's doing it for treats, right? And I'm in the middle. I think, yes, it's important to use treats to condition a dog to show certain behaviors, to train it to show certain behaviors, to get it to learn to have fun as well, to bond. That's like one of the most important things, is bond with your dog. Because if you don't have fun, if you don't bond with your dog, when you go home, you're not going to train it. You're not going to do your homework, and then you come back to my class, and you haven't learned what I taught you last week, and now we're just doing it again, and we're wasting time, and I'm taking your money for nothing, and I don't want to do that, right? Um, but you know I would never, and I've said this many times, I would much rather take my own eye out with a rusty spoon while completely sober than argue with someone who is of a different opinion than mine when it comes to dog training. I'm not interested. What is it going to accomplish? Nothing. Even if you make some good points, right? What I'm doing works for me. If what you're doing works for you, I don't care. Do what you want to do. So I think it's like it's the attitude to have when it comes to these online arguments with people. Even if it's about a subject that you're really passionate about, whether it be, wars, politics, racism, sexism, history, whatever. You don't have to argue with, especially people you don't know, because you don't know who that person is. Some like that person could be in on your gang stalking for all you know. It's happened plenty of times where I would write a comment under like a friend's post, or someone that I find funny under their post, and then somebody responds, and then um they say something that like is meant to piss me off, and I just block, I delete my comment, right? And then they message me, and they're like, "Oh, you're such a coward," and then they name me, and then they name my wife. They say like where I live and stuff like that, and I'm just like, Bruh, if you know where I live, come see me. Like, I'm not hiding." But this like arguing back and forth, getting me angry over what? You're not real, you know? Anyways, I just wanted to like sort of remind you guys that this is one of the tactic that they use, is slicing at you very slowly to get you irritated, because the goal is not to take you out like that. The goal is for you to take yourself out by making wrong decisions, by making mistakes, by being reactive, and then messing up your relationships, messing up your friendships, messing up your family relationships, messing up your business opportunities, messing up yourself through making wrong decisions because you are not emotionally regulated. you know. Whatever you need to do to regulate your emotions, do that, you know. But lashing out on people over on like during arguments, everything you say and do can and will be used against you. This is the situation you're in at all times. At all times. You're being spied on. You're being illegally surveillanced. It's happening. I mean, some of us, are dealing with remote neural monitoring. Not all of us, but some of us. And maybe it's all of us. I don't even know at this point. But I'm just saying, your energy is precious. Be careful what you give it to. Be careful what you spend it on. All right, let's read some comments. um, Spreading the gospel. Today's verse: For the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. Amen. They ruin my reputation, but I don't care about what they think, say, or do. I won't let them break me. Amen. Amen. I know that's right. We don't move in fear. I know that's right. You know, we don't need to lie to ourselves. Reputation is important. It is. It is important. Um, Having a bad reputation does affect a person's quality of life. It truly does, But there's nothing if there's nothing you can do about it at this point, what's the point of worrying about it? You know what I mean? Like I don't want you guys to like think, oh, the way that we cope with this is by pretending that reputation doesn't matter, that having a bad reputation doesn't like affect our lives. That's not it. What I'm saying is that, well, the damage is like it's done. There's no point in, you know, how can I put this? There's no point in harping on this, I guess was the word. I don't know. Sorry, English is my third language. Uh, but there's really no point in like thinking about this and worrying about this all the time and letting it sort of ruin your mood constantly. It's just like it's done. Okay, so one thing that I heard from a narcissistic abuse recovery coach was there are two kind of people when it comes to a smear campaign, because no, the smear campaigns will ruin your reputation. When it comes to smear campaigns, there are two kind of people. There are people who know you and people who don't know you. People who know you will not be affected by what they hear about you because they know you. And then there are people who don't know you, and these people don't matter. And sometimes the people who don't know you are people you thought knew you, but they don't. It turns out they don't. And sometimes, it's people that used to matter to you. They don't anymore. Or at least they shouldn't. It is what it is. I've been bullied a lot and grew up in narcissistic family system, so gang stalking seemed like an elaborate smear campaign to me at first. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, when I mean, I experienced gang stalking while I was with my ex-girlfriend, but it really ramped up as soon as we broke up, and I thought it was her doing. I really thought it was her. I was like, man, this girl is evil. Like, I gave you everything. I didn't take anything from you. I let you keep everything. I left. I mean, the furniture, the house, you know, everything we've ever bought together. I let you keep it. Why are you trying to destroy my life? You're you're a demon, you know. But I mean, don't get me wrong. I do think that she's a part of it at this point. Not that it matters. I wouldn't like investigate, or I don't think about it. Um, but it was happening while we were together. So I don't think it's her doing. AMC 777X. Who do you think? Well, don't say names. Don't say names. But I would like you to say, who do you think started your gang stalking? Where do you think it comes from? Don't say any names. Don't say any names. God bless. Does this program try to steal a person's focus, attention? How can I be more mindful? That's great. That's a great question. Yes, it tries to take your focus away from making your life better and getting you focused on negative things, whether it be lashing out at people, self-destruction, self-destructive behaviors such as alcohol and drug abuse, um, you know, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Counterproductive, um, th- um, coping mechanisms. You know, yes, they try to they basically it's not about destroying you; it's about getting you to destroy yourself, so that they can like say, "Ah, look, my hands are clean. I didn't do anything." The FBI agent, the Secret Intelligence Agency agent that was caught on hidden camera talking about gang stalking and how they do it, said that, they just nudge you. They constantly nudge you towards the direction that they want you to go. And, he said some people will call it entrapment. We call it a nudge, but it's entrapment. He's an FBI agent talking like that, talking about, some people will call it entrapment. What is it then if it's not entrapment? I mean, we're not criminals. You're trying to push us into committing crimes and landing in jail. You're an agent. You are committing entrapment. You belong in prison. You're a danger to society. You know, you're a menace. Um, Perps are getting material treats for gang stalking whilst us targets are on the choke leash. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the world is really upside down. But at the same time, when you learn about narcissism and you learn that this world rewards narcissists and narcissistic behavior, and anyone who is altruistic, they sort of peaceful, um, pacifist, they they get rid of you. This world gets rid of you, you know? I mean, look at what happened to Michael Jackson. There are plenty of accounts, Macaulay Culkin, Aaron Carter, who said, you know, they tried. I mean, I'm not even lying to you. Aaron Carter, who is one of the Backstreet Boys, has a little brother named Aaron Carter. I think the older brother's name is Nick Carter. I can't remember. But Aaron Carter, who also had a career being like a pop star or whatever, he said that, at one point he came back from Michael Jackson's house and these FBI agents were at his house. This is an interview that he did like weeks before he passed away from an overdose. And he said, there were these FBI agents at my house, and they were trying to get me to say that Michael Jackson had done something, and I was like, but he didn't do anything. What are you talking about? And then he was saying his mother was trying to push him into saying it, and then he was just looking at his mom like, what are you doing this for? Like, are you trying to sue him for money, or like, what is this about? And these FBI agents were just sitting there trying to get him to basically lie and say that Michael Jackson had done something to him, you know? And every single accusation that Michael Jackson had on him has been debunked. I mean, Michael Jackson seemed like a really great guy, but if you believed what the media was saying, which I have in the past, it would really lead you to believe that this guy's a horrible monster. Like he does really like weird and strange, horrible things to children. Meanwhile, you read the Jeffrey Epstein files, and you find out that people were saying, no, he was saving children. He was trying to save children from these, you know, PDF files. And of course, Michael Jackson suffered a smear campaign, and which ruined his reputation and life. So he's in heaven now. Um, I met someone alive who claimed gang stalking stopped for him for 2 years. I've met a few people that make this claim. Gang stalking stopped for me for about 4 years. It does stop sometimes, but like I don't want you to think that it stops. It never actually stops. It's just, they might take a step back, but while they take a step back, they're still operating and trying to bring on your downfall. They're still watching you. They're still gathering information about you. And most of it is done through AI, so they don't need to do anything, you know? But yeah, gang stalking sometimes, especially for the people who are not going through like V2K, the people who are going through mostly directed conversations, slander campaigns, things like that. Sometimes it does calm down, but you have to also understand that when you're dealing with a smear campaign, once the damage is done, the damage is done, you know? So even if they take a break for a while, the relationships that have been destroyed, they're still destroyed. The opportunities that have been destroyed are still destroyed. Your job that you still lost it. You're not getting it back. So they might take a break, but they're just looking for better ways to attack you. And every time they took a break with me, they always come back worse than before. So, what irritates me is when people say, "Oh, I know how to make it stop. Message me," and you know, I know a scam when I see one. That irritates me because they'll be in my comment section. Like on TikTok, I have a couple, like a few thousand more followers, and I get a lot of views actually. I mean, now I'm shadow banned, but I used to get like 30, 40,000 views on a video, and people would make comments, and then you'd have these bots that would make comments about, if you want your gang stalking to stop, message me here or message this guy, he'll help you. And it's just like, people are desperate looking for help, and these people are gonna scam you. Anyways, AMC 77, I believe it was my mom. Diabolical. Diabolical. People like us who have parents, um, or a parent that is a nemesis, like an actual enemy of yours. I don't have a lot of enemies. Like I don't have a lot of people who have done horrible things to me. I mean, before the gang stalking started, obviously. I don't have a lot of people in my life who like want to hurt me or who have done things to like really hurt me. But my mother has tried to have me imprisoned on false accusations of things that she did to me. That's like that's really diabolical. Like she like hit me and then called the cops and told them that I hit her. And I was just like, wow. And if you were to talk to her, she would say, I abandoned her. I don't talk to her anymore. I'm punishing her. Like, she sees herself as a victim. I mean, she really does see herself as a victim. I remember we went to her father's funeral, my grandfather, and as soon as she showed up, I left. Um, and my cousin's wife was asking me like, "Why are you leaving?" And I was like, "Because you're about to see the real show." Like, you know, everybody came here for the funeral. She didn't come here for her father's funeral. She came here to put on a show, and she's about to put on a show for you guys. And she didn't understand what I was talking about. And I basically explained to her, I said, what you're about to see is there's going to be a very loud cries, like louder than everybody, which there was, of course. And then she's going to go to every single person, talk about all of her, all of her bad luck and her woes and how her children have abandoned her. And then she's going to ask you for money. And she was like, your mother's not going to do that. And I was like, yeah, watch. And then I left. And then a couple weeks later, she was at my wedding and she came to me and she was like, you were right. Everything you said she was going to do, she did exactly that. And I was like, yeah, I know her. And she was like, wow, man, that's insane. And she was like, how could she talk about like you abandoning her when she, you called, she called the police on you and falsely accused of hitting her. And I was like, that's who she is, you know? Anyways, I'm sorry your mother is a horrible person, AMC. I don't know the corrupt cop's name. Crazy. Yeah, well, I know the first name of the police officer that put me on the list, but I don't know his last name, and I can't find him anymore. Um, I asked her directly if she was involved, and she laughed and said, "It's not me." Repeatedly. She laughed. Your mom's a POS, isn't she? She laughed. What's funny? Your daughter is being targeted by secret intelligence agencies for a silent torture, slow kill program, and you laugh. You know, I often pray for justice. I don't know what justice looks like at this point. I mean, I've gone through so much and so much has been done to me and my gang stalking is far from being the worst that I hear about. I mean, not saying that it's not bad, but I don't have V2K. I don't get my car's tires popped, you know, every week, twice a week. It's happened to me once. I mean, they did burn down my brother's car. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, hmm. Anyways, I'm sorry. Caroning at its finest. These cowards shot at me 17 times within less than 2, 3 years of severe gangster. Jesus Christ. Man, I'm sorry to hear that. God, I'm sorry, brother. Anyways, I just wanted to pop by and remind you guys that you've got to be careful. Not all the attacks will be direct. As a matter of fact, most of it is indirect, and most of it is just in small increments, and most of it is not meant to make you lose your mind. Most of it is just meant to strip away at you slowly, just chip at you. But eventually, you chip at someone or something long enough, and there's nothing left. If you chip at my patience long enough, I don't have any patience left. If you chip at my kindness long enough, I don't have any kindness left. If you chip at you know, my goodness, my generosity, eventually I don't have any. And I become the opposite of that. And it's really hard to explain to people, all they see, because all they see is your reaction or the final result of your torture, which is you are now an unkind person or an impatient person, an angry person, you know? And that's not really who you are. It's who you've become because you don't get a moment of rest because, you know, a whole operation is built around chipping away at all of your goodness, kindness, patience, and you know, it's easy to fool people. Like, for example, it's easy to fool people into believing that you are a horrible person because here, look at what they did. Here, look at what they said. Listen to what they said, but they don't see what has been done to you methodically, slowly, meticulously for years before you got to that point. And even if you explained it to them, they would either not believe you or not understand what you mean because this is not something that people can understand unless they go through it. And, it's never too late, no matter what they have on you, you know, because let's be real. If you've been illegally surveillanced for years, unbeknownst to you, they've got something on you, something, you know. Maybe it's small, maybe it's huge, maybe it's real bad, you know. Maybe you've committed a crime that is like unforgivable. But I just want to let you know it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, you know. You can move forward, and God sees all things. And even if they don't understand how you came to be the person you are, or how you came to do such things, or to say such things, or to be in a situation you are in now, whatever this means to you, right? I know this is personal for a lot of people. For a lot of people, it's, well, I got into, substance abuse and I can't get out. Or for other people, it's I I have domestic violence charges because I became like a really angry person and I got into a fight with my spouse, my husband or my wife, whatever. And for other people, it's just, I don't know, um, you have debt that you're not paying because you can't afford to pay it, or you haven't worked a job in a really long time because you can't find the job. Whatever this, you know, this means to you. Maybe people don't understand how you got in the position you are in, or how you've come to be the person you are today, or how it came to be that they can see evidence of you doing something that is completely out of your character. Maybe they can understand it, but God does understand it. And God forgives those who repent for their sins. And the only person you need to forgive you for your sin is God. Anyone else who judges you for, the outcome of your slow, silent torture, slow kill, you know, program being run on you, what does it matter what your opinion is? You know what I mean? I don't care what a 5-year-old's opinion is on, you know, politics. You don't understand it. Does this make sense to you? If someone has an opinion about you, about your life, about the things that are being said about you, about what they've seen as far as illegal evidence against you, what does it matter? They don't understand. So that's why it was really easy for me to, when facing someone who's telling me to my face, you're a joke, it was really easy for me to laugh because, and it's not even just because that person in particular, is like publicly known to have, broken the law. And what's really funny is that that very same day, right after that interaction with that lady who told me to my face that I was a joke, uh, a news article um, in my state, my province, we call them provinces, but it's like a state. A news article came out about those people because the police had come to their homes and did a raid in their homes. This was the second raid in their homes, I believe, in like the past 3 years. And I was just like, This person called me a joke today. I'm looking at the newspaper, and you go online, and there's like, you know, news anchors talking about these people, and news articles being written about these people, and you know, just news people talking about the raid that happened in their homes, the day before, or maybe it was, I don't know, I can't remember what it was, but I just know that it came out on the same day that I saw them, and I was just like, this person called me a joke today. This person like said to me, everyone knows you're a joke. I'm just looking at this news article like, well, I'm not on the news yet. That's not me. That's you. Anyways, this was a bit of a petty moment. God forgive me. Some others are the worst. My mother has betrayed me so many times, I lost count. She even has joined in on me being gang stalked. Damn. My mother has not joined on my gang stalking, but I don't talk to her. I refuse to talk to her. I saw last time I saw her was at my father's brother's funeral, which was weird because I was like, why is she here? My parents have been divorced for like 20, 30 years, something like 30 years. I'm like, why is she here? She didn't even talk to that guy. I didn't talk to that guy. No, like we didn't know him. I mean, don't get me wrong. It wasn't because like I didn't want to know him. At one point, he lived like in my father. When I lived with my father at the time, he lived in my father's basement at that time, and I would see him. He wouldn't talk to me. He just wouldn't talk to people. He was like that. But I was at his funeral because I wanted to support my dad because he lost his brother, and I show up and my mother's there, and I'm just like, what is she doing here? And then she walks by me and she's like saying hi. She's like, hi, my son that I love. And I just looked at her. I didn't say anything to her. I just looked at her, and people around me were just like, just be calm. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. And I was just like, I'm not worried about it at all. Like, she doesn't know it, but I'm never going to talk to her ever in my life, ever again. Like, she's unaware of that, but I've made that decision long ago, and I didn't feel the need to like get her approval or her consent. You know, there was no consensus. Like, no one. I just decided like, oh, this person is a snake and this person is evil. I don't want them in my life. And I do believe that if I did allow her back in my life, that she would participate in my gang stalking. So, if you're not no contact with your mother, I would suggest it. I would definitely suggest it. Um, I had a stepdad when I was a kid that held a knife to my fingers and was gonna cut them off if I didn't admit to stealing, and it turned out it was my stepdad stealing. Wow. 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 Well, first of all, I'm sorry that happened to you. That guy is a POS on a level that is unimaginable. Incredible. Wow. I haven't committed a crime. I reported a criminalized cop. Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it. Whistleblowing. A lot of us are whistleblowers. A lot of us are. I think of the story of John Lang, who um, they say self-unalived, but the police did it to him. He basically whistleblew on a criminal operation that the Fresno police was running by taking the license plates of people in poor neighborhoods and then giving them tickets. And then he started getting threats, started being gang stalked, started having like strangers follow him, show up to his place, stand on his property. At one point, there was the police, like maybe 8 police officers that just stood across from his street and just stood next to their cars looking at his house, not doing anything, not saying anything. And all of this is on video, of course. They're just looking at his house for like a good 30 minutes to an hour, something like that. And then, John Lang wrote on Facebook, you know, I believe that I will be taken out very soon. If anything happens to me, I didn't self unalive I didn't self unalive. It was the Fresno PD that did it to me. And next thing you know, his house was burned down. His body was found in the house with multiple stab wounds. And they said he did it to himself. I didn't know people, committed self unaliving by stabbing themselves and, burning their houses down with their dogs in. That's I ain't heard of that. That's like the black boys in the late in the states lately that have been hanging themselves from trees. I'm sorry, man. When it comes to self unaliving, men will hang themselves. We do. Black men don't hang themselves from trees. We just don't. We don't do that. And who would commit self unaliving by hanging themselves from a tree? Anyways, it doesn't matter how we got in here. There is no good reason we have to ensure this. The why doesn't matter. We're good people no matter what. That's right. That's right. Um, you're 100% right. All I'm saying is, you know, be mindful because the way that they nudge you towards being a person that ends up having a criminal record, a person that, ends up going to prison, a person that ends up being homeless, the way that they nudge you towards there is a very slow, um, it's a very slow process. And at the end of it, you will be unable to point the finger at anyone and say, they did it to me. Everybody will point the finger at you and say, you did it to yourself. So you really have to be mindful of not allowing yourself to spend your precious energy on things that are counterproductive, that are negative, that are destructive, especially the things that they put in your way, such as internet arguments. Like the joyful and happy and altruistic, kind, benevolent person I was had almost completely disappeared back when I was 20 because of arguments online. I just had people say horrible things to me constantly, all the time, and they would gang up on me, and I didn't understand it. And I wasn't smart enough to just go, "Oh, I'm just gonna stay away from you, or just block you people, or stay away from this forum." Um, it sounds dumb. I realize how dumb it sounds, but I didn't have that wisdom. I mean, obviously, I was, 20. I should have been old enough to know that, but I had never been bullied in my life before. You know, I didn't know how to handle it, and I just became angry and bitter and miserable, at the same time, I was in a relationship with an an abusive narcissist as well. So, and I had just been kicked out of my home. That was like shortly after my mother called the police on me and accused me of wrongfully, falsely accused me of hitting her, and I was essentially homeless. Ended up in an abusive relationship. Mm, and now here I am, the victim of a gang stalking operation, completely unaware of it. And I just became a really miserable and um, hateful person, someone that I never was. And I think you can tell that that's not who I am, you know? But at the time, that's who I had become. And thank God I got out of that mindset. I got back to myself. But I just wanted to give you guys a warning to just remember, don't allow them to you know, change you. Yeah, don't allow them to change you for the worse. You know, if anything, whatever is happening to you, use it to make yourself better. I mean, that's what I'm doing. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm just like, well, how can I make this into something positive? Well, I'm going to help people. I'm going to help people not fall for this the way I have. I'm going to help people not make the mistakes I made. I will not let them define me. I love me and God does too. I hope we can find love for ourselves in God. Amen. Amen. One thing I will tell you is don't fear or cower before them. They want and need you to be scared of them. 100%. 100%. They want you afraid. They want you to be afraid. They want you to be fearful. They want you to be angry. They want you to give into all these low vibration emotion because it makes you predictable. You can predict what a fearful person is going to do. You can predict what a miserable person is going to do, and you can control a fearful person. There is a reason why, the news media is constantly covering negative things, things that make the population fearful. It's because it's a really good tool to control the mass. If everyone is afraid, you can really predict what they're going to do and what they're not going to do, and you can make them do whatever you want them to do. You know, like like for example, stay home and avoid the sun for your health for like 3 years. All right, let's change the topic. They thought Jesus was a criminal, and look what they did to him years ago on the cross. Indeed, indeed, they did. You know, one thing about the story of Jesus that really helps me is, um, for a long time, I was trying to fix my reputation in the eyes of the people that have switched up on me. And then I realized, I mean, now the example I look at is Michael Jackson. People used to cry and faint at Michael Jackson's concert, and then they started calling him a wacko. Same people. But when I look at Jesus, he was a perfect man. They called him a criminal. The state had him executed. If they destroyed Jesus's name, slandered him to the point where they executed him, what do I care what people think? I know who I am. God knows who I am. I'm not a bad person. I've said some bad things. I've done some bad things. I'm not a bad person. I don't wake up in the morning and plot to hurt people. I don't wake up in the morning and think to myself, how can I destroy someone's life today? I don't wake up in the morning with evil plans, and I don't have a monitoring spirit on my shoulder that tells me to spy on people. You couldn't pay me to do these things. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. That's not me. That's you. I have never experienced fear of any of them, individual or collective. I have experienced fear before. Well, no, that's not true. I didn't experience fear. Um, I've allowed them to make me believe that I was a bad person. But then again, what studying narcissism has taught me is that if you are worried, like really genuinely worried about whether or not you're a good or a bad person, you're probably not a bad person because bad people don't, first of all, bad people don't think they're bad people. Bad people think other people are bad people and they think they're good people. And also, they don't worry about that. They would never worry. A bad person doesn't worry about being bad. A bad person sees themselves as good. Narcissists don't see themselves as, the persecutors of anyone. They see themselves as the hero of any story or the victim of any story or both. Like I said, you could talk to my mother, who, like I told you, uh, falsely accused me of hitting her and tried to have me imprisoned. You could talk to her today. She will tell you that I abandoned her and I mistreat her and I don't care about her and I don't love her, which is true. I don't love her, and I don't care about her. But well, that's not true. I do love my mother. I just recognize that you know a relationship with her is not something that is possible. I love her from a distance. Just live your life, let me live mine, and let's keep it that way. And you know, we can live a better life that way. But um, I mean, this for all for what it's worth. Like this is an evil woman. She hasn't just done terrible things to me. She's done terrible things to every single person who dared to love her and be around her. Everybody. I was making like I think this was like maybe 3, 4 years ago. I was making a video on TikTok talking about, you know, my story about my mother and how she tried to have me falsely imprisoned. And then I told my dad about it. And then he told me that she tried to have him falsely imprisoned as well, for something way worse than what she was accusing me of, which we both didn't do. Um, but then half sister, her half sister, my aunt, I guess, who has the same dad but a different mother as her, wrote a comment on my video and said, I had to let go of the relationship I had with her. She's such an evil woman, and that was like so funny to me. Like your own sister is in my comment section saying like you're evil. So for all intents and purposes, this is a really evil woman. But if you were to ask her, she would say that she's a victim. She's the victim of everybody. Everybody's just abandoning her. It's like, no, we're not abandoning you. We're running away from you. You are evil. Um, they want us scared. Is coercive control. It's difficult not to be sometimes, but you're right. Yeah, it's difficult not to be sometimes because it doesn't end at just illegal surveillance or directed conversation, reputation destruction, slander, workplace mobbing. It does sometimes turn into poisoning, vandalism, home invasions, things of that nature. So being hit with directed energy weapons, things like that. So it is hard sometimes to not be afraid, but I guess, my gang stalking hasn't been as bad as a lot of people who I talk to, what they explain to me that they're going through. I mean, it's been pretty bad. Don't get me wrong, but it hasn't been as bad as some of the people I talk to. But, you know, I don't fear cowards, you know. If any of them came to my face and said, "I have a problem with you. I have this problem with you," you know, and told me that they wanted to square up, I would square right up, you know. But you know, it's really hard to be afraid of cowards. It's really hard. I can't do it. I mean, don't get me wrong. If somebody comes into my home or, tries to poison me or actually hurt me, you know, that's some scary stuff and it will be handled accordingly. But once you realize how cowardly they are, it's really hard to be afraid of cowards. You look at them not with fear, but with disgust. I had many smear campaigns and false allegations against me. Most of their tactics I try to report are plausibly deniable, and it makes me sound silly or unwell if I report it. Yeah, it's a common theme, you know. The the biggest aspect of this gang stalking torture is it's plausibly deniable. You can just put it on the you can just sort of categorize everything that happens as coincidences, bad lucks, or oh, it's your ex. You know, it's like no, it's the FBI. It's a criminal organization that is like actively working every day to destroy my life. It's COINTELPRO. It's MK Ultra. It's Zechsetzung. But you sound nuts when you talk about it. They gang stalk cops too. Yeah, I saw a video of a cop that was gang stalked. He was explaining how the program works. I do believe he passed away actually. Um, but yeah, he was explaining how it works and what they've been doing to him. He was a police officer being gang stalked. Depending on who they are dealing with, look at the history of the KGB. Claims of unalive humans that took out. Think clearly. The Russian soldiers with other Russian soldiers being tied to trees is really cruel. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna go look for that. That's dark. I was, it was awful before I found out I was being gang stalked. I lashed out at people that didn't deserve it. I said hurtful things I regret. I was constantly under pressure, and it definitely got to me. Me too. Everything you did, I also did. And that's what's being used against me to destroy my name further. It's every time I lashed out, every time I said things, hurtful things that I regret, these things are being spread out to people, and it translates to workplace mobbing. It translates to my friends turning their backs on me. It translates to my family turning their backs on me or participating in my abuse. When it comes to my friends and family, it translates to my neighbors, switching up on me, participating in my abuse as well. In strangers following me around, things of that nature. It's like they really use, you know, the whole operation uh, begins long before you notice it. You know, they do some really really hurtful stuff to chip at you constantly until you react, and then your reactions are used against you to destroy your name, making people believe that this is who you are, when really this is who you've become after torture. But people won't understand it. I'm just saying it doesn't matter that they don't understand it. I don't care what a 5 year old's opinion is when it comes to politics. Even if he's of the same opinion of me as me, he doesn't get it. He doesn't understand it. So anybody that has like turned on you or that decides to, abuse you, their opinions doesn't matter. Their opinions don't matter. They don't understand what you've gone through. And if they're not willing to hear you out, or, you know, if they're willing to, to hurt you, their opinions definitely don't matter. You can hear the sound barrier being broken under ultra high frequencies when a train passes a location. I wouldn't be able to live with the guilt of doing this to someone. Yeah. I mean, you can call me a bad person all you want. You can say I'm a monster, I'm this, I'm that, but the things you're doing to me, I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I was doing that to another human being. You people are monsters. Balloons help collect static and change. What the hell is Smiley or human talking about? Huh? A directed energy weapon is a close range attack from a power grid supply from a state causing it. You have to find the source of the power supply. I'm sorry. That was a little rude of me. My bad. I'm sorry. I was very confused by what you were writing. My bad. My bad. I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry. What you were writing was very confusing. I wasn't understanding it. Um, I'm sorry. Had my gang stalking stopped for 2 days, started back up, and I heard noise from the back of my house. Sounded like a factory. I thought it was something integral to the structure of the house. Whoa. Sounds a lot like what happened with me during 2024 when I started waking up to it. Smile, you're a human says, my aunt used to work for NASA. A lot of smart people in my family. NASA is, there's actually a lot of really interesting stories with NASA employees. Um, I hear that they're up to nefarious things. I had a real outburst in the beginning. I can see that outburst being used. I was ready to fight back. It was crazy. Yeah. It's really it's built that way. They try to get you to act out of character so that they can destroy your character. So I just want to remind you, you know, even if they have evidence on you now, because you've made the mistake of being reactive, just don't do it again. Don't let it happen more. Our buddies I have turned like vampires. They deny doing anything, turned narcissists just like that in a snap. Yeah, it makes you feel like you're in like the Twilight Zone, like in a different universe. How people just switch up on you. People that loved you and that, had love for you that you loved. It's crazy. But that's how it works. You're being spied on, and everything that you say and do is being used against you. But it's not just that, it's also pushing you to do and say things that can be used against you. It's very like meticulous and well planned out. Like none of this is a coincidence. They didn't catch you in the act of saying and doing something horrible by accident. They caused it. They were waiting for it. They were trying to make that happen. And then once it happens, they go, great, let's start the operation. And at this point, it's okay to let you know that it's happening because they have what they need. And letting you know that it's happening is, you know, going to create fear in you. So it helps their purpose even more because fear is a draining emotion. To constantly live in fear, to live in survival mode, it's draining. And they know that if you are drained, you are, you know, malleable. Wasn't Edward Snowden in Hawaii before he fled to Russia? I don't know. Maybe, probably. Um, I discovered their tactics and it's getting easier to not react. The gospel of salvation and becoming born again has helped me. Jesus is the answer for me today. Amen. Amen. I got someone out of Hawaii when they did what they did. She lives here in Seattle. God told me to keep my mind on Him. I actually miss a lot of and find myself unbothered. Yeah. I wonder if I've been targeted from birth. It would make sense. I've had a lot of people say that they've been targeted from birth. Hmm. It's a possibility. Hate crimes and crimes against humanity. Yep. I'm under Pentagon legislation of relative entanglement prevent due to my aunt at NASA. with the Indiana Department of Homeland Security working across the street. They are not very good people. Department of Homeland Security, I want you to take a second of your day, and I'm gonna leave on this actually, because I want to get back to playing video games. Sorry. I took a break to talk to you guys. Uh, but I want to talk about the Department of they are Baal and Baphomet worshippers. They are. I want to talk about DHS, the Department of Homeland Security. Go on X.com or Twitter and look at the Department of of Homeland Security's Twitter page. It's almost like every single post is some racist stuff, you know? They're like really hyped about ICE and making America white again, you know? Um, and this is a government, you know, a government operation. The post that they make is insane. You look at the Department of War, which used to be the Department of Defense, but you know, who's America defending themselves against? The Mexicans? What are we talking about? The Department of War is definitely, you know, the right name. But you go on the Department of War's page, um, and they talk about directed energy weapons, and they say we have directed energy weapons. Yes, we are scaling them, meaning we're testing them. And like the Department of War of America is saying we are testing directed energy weapons, and then citizens all over the world are saying directed energy weapons are being used on me, and people go, "You're crazy." Oh boy. I watched this interview. There was this Asian man, I believe he was Vietnamese. There was this Asian American man who was saying, "We all know, we all know that the FBI and the CIA spy on people. Everyone knows that. We all know Edward Snowden told us that the NSA spies on, you know, American civilians, on innocent civilians worldwide. I mean, he was accused of you know, treason for it. And he fled the country to go live in Russia. We know these things happen. We know the NSA spies on people. We know the CIA spies on people. We know the FBI spies on. I mean, look at MLK's FBI file. They bugged his hotel rooms. They bugged his office. They bugged his, his home. They did the same thing to Malcolm X. We know that these secret intelligence agencies spy on people. We know that. But when you tell people I'm being spied on by secret intelligence agencies, the FBI, people go, "You're crazy." And what he said was, we know they spy on people, but when you tell people I'm being spied on by them, they go, "It can't be true." So are we to believe that the secret intelligence agencies who spy on people aren't actually spying on people? Anyways, Grimes Kure, sorry, I might be saying your name wrong. He's talking about Palantir. I think Palantir is one of the funniest things ever. Palantir. The founder of the company Palantir, one of the founders, you know, there's Alex Carr, but there's also Peter Thiel. But Peter Thiel um, did like TED Talks about the Antichrist. And he's the founder, well, one of the founders of Palantir, which is a company that makes software, like spy software for the government. And they named their company. I want you to understand this, okay? The name Palantir comes from Lord of the Rings. the books, the movie series, the movie saga. That's where it comes from. Palantir is in Lord of the Rings, and Palantiri is a crystal ball that was used by the elves to spy on people. But in the movies, we don't see that. In the movies, we see Saruman. Thank you, Grimes. We see Saruman use the Palantiri to spy on people. I just want you to understand who Saruman is. Saruman is technically Sauron's brother. Technically, right? But he's Sauron's minion. Sauron is the antagonist of the story. He named his company after the crystal ball that Saruman uses to spy on people for Sauron. Let me repeat that if you didn't hear me right. Sauron is the antagonist of the story, meaning he's the evil one. Sauron bad. Sauron used Saruman as a pawn. Saruman used Palantiri crystal ball to spy on people for Sauron. Peter Thiel named company that makes spyware Palantiri and is selling spyware to the government. The same government that does everything you've seen in the Epstein files. Do I need to repeat myself? Is anything unclear? Are you confused about what's going on? Let me know. Holla at me. Say something to me. Do I need to repeat myself? Alex Karp, the other founder of Palantiri, who's constantly doing interviews while, he looks like he's literally on that stuff, right? Alex Karp is like doing interviews talking about how proud he is of, his softwares and his drones being used to target people. Right, Grimes, that guy, he can't even sit still while doing interviews. Your government is giving millions to the founders of Palantir to use their spyware. I don't think, I mean, I wish, I wish, I wish more people could see what we are seeing and more people understood what's coming. I heard this AI CEO, a man named Shlomo Kramer, talking about the First Amendment in America. If you don't know what the First Amendment is, it's the right to free speech. And he was saying that we need to control we need to control free speech in order to protect it. We need to restrict it in order to protect it. We need to restrict free speech in order to protect free speech. This is an AI CEO. He's a billionaire. He's a billionaire. You can vote all you want when it comes to When it comes to politics, you can vote for whoever you want. You can vote however you want, right? You're not giving out millions to politicians to have them, lobby for laws to come into effect or for laws to change. Whatever billionaires want, they get because our politicians will sell us out. I'm gonna explain it to you. Well, she's asking me, is he from Israel? I believe he was born in New York, but his name is Shlomo Kramer. I mean, I'm gonna let you guess of what ethnicity he is, but Peter Thiel is not from an Israeli. Neither is Alex Carr. Peter Thiel is German. So when it comes to billionaires, it doesn't matter where they're from, right? Um, but let me just explain. Um, Let me just explain to you how politics, you know, work. There was this teacher who said something really insightful, and I want you guys to listen to this. I'm gonna try to be quick about this as to not lose you guys. Um, this teacher said, "All right, guys, today I'm gonna teach you about politics. Everybody, whole class, I'm gonna teach you about politics. These are young kids, right? Like I think they were like in fifth grade, sixth grade, something like that." And he said, "There's gonna be two groups, left and right. I want you guys to pick a leader, right? And then I want you guys to like think of a rule that you want to have implemented in the class, and whatever rule that your leaders give to me, we're going to implement them in the class." And you're thinking, that sounds irresponsible here, right? But he's not worried. So they finish doing that. They vote and for their leaders, and then they tell the leaders like what it is that they actually want. The leaders come to the teacher in private and say, no, the one on the right, no, the one on the right says, well, my classmates, we want to be able to be on our phones in class as much as we want. And the teacher says, okay, what about you on the left? Well, what does your group want? And he says, well, we want to be able to, not have, we don't want to have any homework anymore. And the teacher says, all right, okay. Now, before we implement these rules, I'm gonna make you my offer. And the teacher says, um, "I'll give you both of you guys. I'll give you A pluses for the rest of the year. You won't have to do any homework. You won't have to do any exams. You won't have to study. I'll give you two A pluses for the rest of the year. But you know, your rules will not be implemented. You will have to implement my rule." And the kids are like, the two kids are like, what's your rule? My rule is if anyone talks while I'm talking, they get detention. They walk back in the class. The teacher walks back in with the two kids, and then the teacher says, "All right, guys, announce to the students what rule is going to be implemented. Which one of your rules is going to be implemented, right?" And then the two kids, one of the two kids says to the class, well, the rule that we agreed upon is that if anyone talks during class, you get detention." And all the kids are like, what? That's not what we asked. None of us asked for this. You guys promised us that you would lobby like for our rule to be implemented, but you're bringing a rule that we don't want. That's politics. Doesn't matter who you vote for. It doesn't matter what this politician is promising you. It doesn't matter because a politician makes like 60,000 a year, 100,000 a year, maybe something like that. If you're like a high politician, you might make like $240,000 a year. If a billionaire comes to you and says, "I will give you $200 million for your campaign for you to win the election," all you have to do is put into law lobby for a a law that I want, right? So for example, I'm a billionaire. I own I'm a billionaire and I own a bunch of for-profit prisons, right? Now, the way that I make money is through my for-profit prisons. And then I pay a politician so that he can win. I pay his campaign so that he can win the election. And I tell him, I don't care what you promise people. What I want you to do is I want you to make marijuana illegal again. I want you to recriminalize marijuana so that people can get caught with marijuana and end up in prison, so that I can have cheap labor and sell contracts to corporations for cheap labor. Because, when you go to prison, you don't just go to prison, you have to have a job. And then, people go to prison for, possession of marijuana, which was legal at the time until the politician who you voted for took money from a billionaire and passed a law to recriminalize marijuana. And now you get arrested for possession, you end up in a prison, and you are effectively a slave because you're working for food and shelter. And your labor is being paid at the rate of $1 an hour. That's politics. And then people tell me, like, why don't you vote? You can't complain if you don't vote. And what I answer is, you wouldn't vote if you understood the system. No amount of voting is going to change the system. For as long as corporation exists, for as long as not corporations exist, because I don't think that corporations are such a bad thing. What I think is wrong is, why is it that corporations can donate money to politicians? Why is it that billionaires can donate money to politicians? That shouldn't be how it works. Of course, if you are a billionaire and you give money to a politician and he wins the election, of course, he's going to expect you to return on his investment. Perhaps not in you, because I paid you. I don't expect you to give me back my money, but I do expect you to, you're in charge now. I do expect you to make some laws that are going to be beneficial to me. And corporations have no problem trampling on people's rights in order to get richer. Marijuana was legal. So what? It's not now. Now you go to prison. Go work in my for-profit prison because you were in possession of a plant. That's why marijuana was became illegal. It was legal before. That's why cocaine became illegal. It was legal before. That's why alcohol was legal at one point in the US. It was legal. It was all about for-profit prisons. That's it. You know, where I live in Quebec. The same country and state, we call them provinces, the same country and state that used to imprison people for both marijuana and alcohol are selling it now. The government of my province sells weed and alcohol. If you want to go and buy alcohol, you have to go to what is called an SAQ, which is Société Alcool Québec, right? Um, like Society of, I guess something like that, Alcohol Quebec, right? Which is where I live, Quebec. If you want to buy weed, you have to go to a SQDC. Again, C stands for cannabis, right? Q stands for Quebec. But the government is the ones selling it. They used to imprison people for it. Now they're selling it. You think the government outlawed it for your good? Politics. I'm sorry, I just want an attention here. Somebody said the word Palantir and really had me rolling here. My bad, guys. I have to go soon. I have to go now, actually. Um, thank you very much for being here, guys. Um, I'm trying to find the strength to make new videos. I'm just like I'm not into it right now. But like I said, on Friday I will have an interview with Andrew McCready. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Andrew McCready is a very smart man, and he's been going through